Sure, over here.
We have religious people come to the University of Pennsylvania all the time. And very often they're over in front of the library, literally standing on soapboxes. Well, actually, they're kind of plastic cans, but anyway. And they tell us that abortion is murder, and that we're all going to hell because we're fornicating. And they get very perturbed when I tell them, but that's not preaching the gospel. What you said tonight is very significant, but I think that you can include as we nearly close, what is the gospel? Tell us the gospel.
Would you like me to talk to these people?
Yes. Yes, because sometimes they can't answer that question.
Yeah. When near the end of it's the book of Jude, which is near the end of the Bible. Some of you didn't even know there was a book of Jude. It's right before It's right before its more famous friend, the book of Revelation. And there's a place Jude is writing to a church, and one of the things that always amazes me there is there's a command of the church that says, "Be merciful to them that doubt." Be merciful to them that doubt. Or here's another place where Jesus meets a guy who comes along and says, heal my son. This is in Mark chapter 9. And Jesus says, I can do it if you believe. And he says, I believe, help my unbelief, which is a great way of saying, I'm trying to believe, but I'm filled with doubts. Jesus does not say, well, come back when you've dealt with those, and then I'll heal your son. The standard is you've got to believe. You've got to give yourself to me, wholly, without any doubts. And it's amazing. He says, help my son. Jesus says, I can if you believe. Well, I'm trying to believe. I'm filled with doubts. And Jesus heals his son. He's merciful to a man who's doubting, who's trying. Now, I can tell you this. This is what I mean when I meant, I will tell you what I think the gospel is by the branch. Remember that branch illustration? If Jesus Christ's death and resurrection in my place, if I believe that, then I don't have to be a good person. I don't have to have great faith. I don't have to have this surrendered heart. I don't have to have this perfect life. I just need to grab that branch and I'm saved. And on the other hand, a person who is got no doubts, and I know I'm living a good life, and I'm not fornicating, and I'm not having abortions, and I'm not and I'm obeying the Ten Commandments, and you're filled with pride, and you therefore are not merciful to those who doubt. You look at people who doubt and say, why can't you be like me? This is a person who's fallen off the cliff. They're filled with belief about the Bible and doctrine, but they actually haven't relied on Jesus Christ as their Savior. They're being their own Savior. So Christianity says religion, traditional religion, which produces Pharisees, is I give God a good record, and then in response to that, he blesses me. But Christianity is God gives me a perfect record in Jesus Christ. It's a free gift. I'm a sinner, and I only get it when I admit that I'm a moral failure. And then he gives me this acceptance, and now I live for him out of gratitude, which means the lack of that. If I'm a sinner saved by grace, there has to be a lack of this superiority and this self-righteousness that you see in the people in the soapboxes. A man across my hallway, where I've lived for 19 years, my neighbor is a Hindu. And I look at him, and as far as I can tell, he probably is a more moral man than me. He may be a better man than me, even thought of broadly. He's certainly a better father than me. And you say, well, how can you say, don't you believe you're saved? You're a Christian, he's a Hindu. The answer is, I'm not saved by being a good father or by being a good man. I'm saved by the mercy of what Jesus Christ, what he's done. And therefore, I can't feel superior to him. There's a tendency, because my heart is sinful and self-centered, there's a tendency to use my Christianity to feel like, why don't you people have the truth? But the gospel takes me out of it. But I think people like the people you're talking about don't understand that gospel. The self-righteousness, the Phariseeism is something that the gospel should expunge. And so if you're out here thinking about Christianity and you're thinking about people like that, keep in mind that Christianity has, that's not Christianity. And it also has self-corrective resources within it. That's why you have the Old Testament prophets railing against religion. You have Jesus railing against the Pharisees. to say you don't understand grace. So I hope that helps a bit.
Yes.
Okay? Over here.